Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Start off with a couple of banners right here. I want to make sure everyone knows that it's going to be trigger warning. It's going to be hard to read, it's going to be hard to hear, it's going to be hard to listen to. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. You need to know that fathers, do not embitter your children or they will become discouraged. You need to learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, and plead the case of the widow. And there says, hi, Jackie Glenn. Good to see you. Long time no see. Missed you so much. Put trigger warning down here. Y'all really need to understand more about this 764 violent extremist network group. Bradley Cadenhead from Texas created 764. If you can tell by the picture right here, Bradley Cadenhead, who went by Felix and Brad 764 online, created 764 in 2020 when he was 15 and named it after his zip code in Texas. Without further ado, and it's so good to see each and every one of y'all. Let me start by reading this. Abuse affects our lives in so many ways. What do we do when we are too scared to tell? When we have trusted someone and they did not help. Sometimes someone asks, what did you do to get punished this way? Abuse is abuse. Abuse is not punishment. Abuse is torture, crippling, and debilitating. What advice would you give others to help them through the horrendous memories? Are you there for the person, or are you part of the knife in your friend or relative's back, since you may have turned a blind eye to it? Are you claiming to advocate against abuse but condemn the people who tell and share their stories? Do you want to be a part of the solution or part of the problem? Let's stand united and discuss ways in which we may help others. What ways have helped you in your healing journey? Are you in a constant battle fighting the negative forces within? Stop. Let's encourage one another. That means, are you an officer in the judicial system not doing your job to help the victim? That means you're not doing your duty. Your duty is to serve and protect. How do we open the public's eyes so they can acknowledge and feel the need to help protect the children and our citizens? The children are our future. You matter. So I'm going to start what you can do about these organizations whenever you need to pay attention to your children. Here's the top list. Number one, don't dismiss strange behavior. Sudden secrecy, withdrawn behavior, excessive device use, erratic sleep, or unexplained injuries. These are not just growing pains. Don't look away. Ask, keep asking with compassion, not interrogation. I seem to remember there was an app that you could get, and you end up putting it also with your child's phone, where you keep a tab on it, where if your daughter or your son or grandchildren has like even a scratch mark on it, and they took a picture of the scratch mark, it's going to come to the parent, so the parent can check in to see why, what happened to this child. If anything sexual is mentioned, it's going to go directly to the parent as well. I can't remember what the name of the app is, but y'all parents, it's up to y'all. Y'all might say your kids don't want you to look at the device, but this is a way where you look at the device without actually looking at their device. If you see what, if you get my drift. If they're talking sexual means, it's going to go to your phone. It's going to notify you. Okay, so you might be their hope. Number two, don't tell them it isn't love. Not yet. Not until you've listened. So that means first listen before you tell them that this isn't love, okay? If you challenge the reality a teenager is clinging to, you don't dismantle it. You drive them deeper into it. Ask questions. Let them speak. Then slowly, carefully introduce the idea of what real care looks like and how coercion wears a mask. Number three, document everything. If a child confides in you, take notes. Not only just write down what he says, put the date, the time, everyone involved. Take notes, write it down, okay? You could even say what room of the house you're in when you took the notes, just so person might say, well, never talk to you in the living room or never talk to you privately or whatever. This is in the bedroom, right? Or this is in the living room when you sat down at the TV, whatever. You'll have notes of all of it, right? Screenshot messages, save usernames, record timelines. Do not assume the platform will preserve evidence. They won't. You hear that? If you're waiting to try to go back on that platform to try to find the evidence, it's usually eradicated, okay? So try to take pictures while you can so that you got the proof behind what's going on for your child. They won't. Preserve the proof. Then report it both to the www.acce.gov.au. That's in Australia. And esafety.gov.au. That's in Australia as well. 4. Get off the moral high horse. You are not here to shame them for what they sent. You are here to keep them alive. So quit calling them bad people. Quit saying it's your fault. Quit putting the blame. But they ain't going to come to you when they are having a problem. If you're going to start telling them, oh, you did wrong. You should have never done that. Why are you doing that? You're so stupid. You know better than that. Why are you doing such lame things? Oh, don't go bother me. They come to you with a problem. That's one thing I hate. The kid tries to come to you with a problem and you go, well, I ain't got time for this. Let me get this done. Y'all never give me no peace. Go out and play. Go find something else to do. And the kid might actually have something very important it's trying to tell you, which might be you you need to protect your child. So please sit down with them and listen to them, okay? Many victims say they stayed because they were more afraid of parental anger than of the abuser's threats. Fix that. 5. Learn the apps. Don't rely on headlines. Create your own Discord account. Watch TikTok lives. Ask your kids to show you how Snap maps work. If you don't know the terrain, you won't help them navigate it. Y'all, please don't let your kids use the maps on Snap if you do have it, because it shows the perpetrators your child's exact location. So by all means, make sure that the maps is not there letting the perpetrator find your child, okay? Don't go it alone. Reach out to experts. You don't have to be a digital native to take action. Just be a present adult. Amen to that. You're right. Children need a lot of safeguarding online. Exactly. Thanks for stating that. Hey, Reap the Whirlwind. Good to see you too. Thanks for coming in. So, without further ado, I think I'll start off with the one with the government page talking about this. I want to show y'all another one, okay? Hold on. Can y'all see this okay? Bullied teen became evil cult God who forced kids to carve his name into his skin. Bradley Cadenhead, 19, who was 15 at the time when he started, okay, was sentenced to 80 years in prison for starting a Discord cult like organization that gains followers among child predators. Here he is right here. This was put Sunday, September the 15th, 2024 by the Express.com. Thank you. A teenager became the de facto leader of an online domestic terrorist cult that cyberbullied teens. He is now serving an 80-year prison sentence on charges of child pornography. Bradley Cadenhead's story serves as a warning to parents of teens about how the dark side of the online world media can influence their child towards the epitome of evil. He faced endless bullying at his middle school in Stevensville, with one former classmate telling the Washington Post he was considered as an easy target, forcing him to drop out of school and retreat to his bedroom in the family's apartment. His personal experiences reportedly prompted to commit self-harm and gained an obsession with videos and images of torture while playing the online game Minecraft. The FBI classified Cadenhead's Discord group 764 as a domestic terrorist organization. I stopped caring about everything, Cadenhead told probation officers after the divorce of his parents in 2016. So divorce does note that. Okay. Trying to mess me up right now, so please bear with me. I think I need to get on my phone too, since it's wanting to argue with me. I hate it when the internet argues with you. So please bear with me while I get that straightened out. Get over here to the Facebook page right here. Get over here to the. Let me get the volume down over here on my phone. Here's where Bradley Cadenhill, who went by Felix and Brad764 online, created 764 in 2020 when he was 15 and named it after his zip code in Texas. This is the kind of things as parents we don't think will ever happen to our kids, so we sometimes avoid learning about it. Take the time to learn more for your kid and kids and their peers. Share with their school community and have the conversations with your children I'm sure we all remember feeling young and invincible and that nothing bad would happen to us. It's a different world now with social media. This powerful tool has brought so many good things, but like everything, it's balanced out with the bad. Social media isn't going anywhere, so we need to help keep our kids safe by opening the lines of communication and teaching them appropriately about the risks and dangers. We do it with drugs and alcohol and sexual health, and we need to do this with social media as well. While the targets are more often girls, this is not just about teaching girls how to stay safe. The perpetrators are more often boys, men, and this is where the focus also needs to be. Teach your boys not only that participating in behavior like this at the smallest level is unacceptable and harmful, but also teach them how to identify it in their peers and address it or reach out to someone who can. Being a bystander can be a heavy role to play. There's a lot of tools available to help them be a strong bystander. An Alberta teen was trapped inside a network that the RCMP says is unlike anything its counterterrorism unit has ever seen. Warning: this story contains references to suicide, sexual abuse, violence, graphic material, and language that may be upsetting to some readers. Maria desperately banged on the door as she pled through tears for her 15-year-old daughter, Trinity, to come out. Look what they've done to me, Trinity said as she finally unlocked the door in their Red Deer Alta home, lifting her shirt to reveal the myriad of usernames and symbols, including a swastika carved into her skin. I can't take this anymore. Just moments before, Trinity was live streaming her attempt to kill herself on a private Discord server while dozens of predators goaded her on. It was July the 11th, 2021, and the culmination of months of exploitation by members of a violent extremist group called 764 who prey on vulnerable minors and lure them into their dark and depraved online community. We have tried to tell this story and nobody believes it. It's too obscure. It's too obscene, said Trinity, who is now 19. For their safety, we are not using Trinity or Maria's last names. The Fifth Estate has learned despite reporting her exploitation at the hands of 764 to the RCMP in 2021 and provided evidence, including phones and a laptop. No charges have been laid in Trinity's case. There's a full documentary, so y'all write this down. Trap, the online terror network, from the Fifth Estate on YouTube or on CBC TV. It says it's Friday at 9 p.m. So y'all can look that up. Trapped, the online terror network. Okay. The RCMP acknowledges it is trying to keep up with 764's evolving threat and issued a warning about the group in 2024. 3 years after Trinity reported it, and nearly a year after the FBI first warned of 764's global threat to children, it was difficult to be heard. It was difficult to be believed, said Maria. It was a pretty traumatic experience, not only for her, but as her mom, to watch her deteriorate to nothing while begging for help. Maria and Trinity shared their story publicly for the first time with the Fifth Estate. It's been painful for them, but they said they wanted to as both a cautionary tale and try to help other victims and families come forward and find a sense of justice that still eludes them. The RCMP have acknowledged to the Fifth Estate that initially law enforcement didn't know what it was dealing with. It's something that internationally both police and our intelligence security partners are still trying to wrap our heads around, said INSP Matt Johnson, who is with the RCMP's counterterrorism unit, known as Integrated National Security Enforcement Team, INSET, in Edmonton. It's unlike anything we've seen before. How, number one, how 764 lures its victims. 764 deliberately targets vulnerable children by prowling on popular gaming sites like Minecraft and Roblox, where members lure them into private online chats on Discord and Telegram. Often these spaces are disguised as safe places for minors and eating disorders or poor self esteem. Experts say the grooming includes lavishing victims with intention and exposing them to violent content to desensitize them. Victims are then coerced into sending sexually explicit images and to self harm, including carving their predators' names into their skin as a sign of devotion. Members of 764 threaten to share the images with family and friends to get their victims to do even worse, like hurting their pets, harming others, and even killing themselves, all in an effort to exert control for their own gratification. The FBI first warned the public about 764 in September of 2023 and amid a series of arrests, including Bradley Cadenhead. That's his picture on the left. He was a 15-year-old from Texas who founded the group in 2020 and named it after his zip code. Cadenhead is serving an 80-year sentence in 2023 for pleading guilty for possession with intent to promote child pornography. What about the other stuff? Was he? What other charges against him? I think there needs to be more charges than that, right? The most horrendous part about it is minors doing this to minors, said Mark Andre Argentino, a senior researcher at Public Safety Canada specializing in extremism movements. We're talking about 13-year-olds targeting 16-year-olds, 16-year-olds sextorting 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds. In February 2024, police in Lethbridge, Alta, identified Canada's first case involving a 764 member when a 14-year-old boy was charged with a series of offenses, including making and distributing child pornography. Argentino said law enforcement have located cases in at least 23 countries, and he estimates there are likely both perpetrators and victims in every province in Canada. There's no activism, said Argentino, who writes a blog that helps law enforcement understand what they're up against. Despite drawing inspiration from satanic neo Nazi movements, he says 764 and its related groups' shared motivation is to destroy society. They're not even worried about the disappearance of the white race. This is actually an interracial community. They just want to be the most violent, the most misanthropic type of individual they can be. Argentino says they're doing it for bragging rights and to gain status in the network. The fifth estate obtained a lore book created by a handful of members of a group within the 764 network called Harm Nation. Predators show off images of multiple victims whom they have forced to carve their usernames into their bodies and harm their pets, often on live stream. It's soul crushing to go into these spaces, said Argentino, who has seen even worse 764 content. Some of these individuals, they're targeting dozens of victims on a daily basis. If you or someone you know has been exploited by 764 and have information you'd like to share, please email. It's with the letter I, the letter O, the letter A, NNA dot R OUNELIOTIS at cbc.ca. And Roxana, it's ROXANNA WOLOSHYN at cbc.ca dot Roman numeral 2. How Trinity fell prey to 764. Looking back, Trinity says she was a perfect target for 764. She told the Fifth Estate she was sexually abused for years by a family member, and by the age of 12, it led her to self harm. Trinity said she also struggled with substance abuse and attempted suicide multiple times. The abuse also left her, she said, with a distorted view of male affection. I still needed that male validation in a terrible way, Trinity said. It's really sick and twisted, I'm sorry to say, but I was that way for a while too, being what I endured. So that's common. One day, Trinity said, during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, a friend showed her some gore videos, which often include graphic violence and blood. She asked him to invite her to the server on Discord. Once there, she met a 764 member who invited her to a 764 Telegram channel where she saw young female victims cutting themselves and attempting suicide. She was horrified, but she was also bombarded with the attention she craved. They figured out how easy I am to manipulate, Trinity said, and would call me sweet names like Little Princess and make me feel like I was genuinely adored. Trinity said the manipulation deepened, and within weeks she was being exploited by more than a dozen predators who forced her to share sexually explicit images and to cut herself. Trinity said if she resisted any demands, 764 members threatened to share the images with her school, her friends, and family. It was terrible blackmail, she said. I was terrified. Trinity tried to hide what was going on from Maria, but her behavior had become erratic. Maria took Trinity's phone away and was shocked to find sexually exploitative and self harm images of Trinity. This is only part of the article. Please search the Fifth Estate 764 to reach the full story, as Facebook does not allow links posted to news organizations. Stay safe. Posts from the DPAC page are shareable. Let me stop that share. Get that one off right there. So I'll go to the next, back over here to StreamYard. And I hope y'all are doing good still. I'm still here. This is very hard to share, okay? And talk about. Okay, here's another person who was in cohorts. Trippy, a founding member of 764, was identified in part thanks to material recovered from Bradley Cadenhead's phone. Cadenhead, who created the child sex abuse material cult, is serving an 80-year sentence in Texas prisons. And it says, defendant Nepal has been involved with 764 since the group's inception in or around 2020 or early 2021, and was present in the group with its founder, Individual One. After Individual One was arrested on or about August the 25th, 2021, Nepal emerged as a leader of 764 and has remained in the position to this day. In his capacity as a member and leader of 764, Nepal has used many online monikers, including, y'all need to write these names down because they can come into here also, YouTube and other places. Leather Jacket, Rebirth, King Krampus, but he was most widely known in 764 Inferno as Trippy. I can remember the name King Krampus right here. Do y'all remember that? Okay, so let's go to the next one. Do y'all remember any of this that I'm giving the information to? And hold on a minute. I think I need to cancel this for a minute. I think it changed the let's put it like that where it does a smaller thing right there. All right. And now to share the screen. Now look at here. This is one of the movies that you can find out there. It's called The Dark Uncle of 764. A global network of violent predators is hiding in plain sight, targeting children on major platforms, grooming them and extorting them to commit horrific acts of abuse. An international network of predators called 764, steeped in Satanism, lure children from seemingly harmless online platforms like Discord, Minecraft, and Roblox and extort them to sexually exploit and grievously harm themselves. Some victims are even pushed to suicide. So that right there is the plot. So let me go back right here where you see where it said like the Dark Uncle of 764, and this is at imdb.com. I don't want to rate that. Okay. So now we go back to. I'm going to show y'all some other ones right here. There's photos, and here's the top cast it shows in here. There's also Bradley, more like this. It's Bradley Cadenhead. Felix is 764. I had went to that earlier, and it did not give me the information. It can't be watched. Then there's Kyle Spitzy and the 764 files right here. That's another one right here. So it says, let me read this right here. So a newly filed indictment shows Kyle Williams Spitz is facing child sex crime and animal abuse charges. In 2023, frightening footage circulating online shows a deranged man shooting and injuring his partner's son from point blank range amid a heated argument, ending with the shooter taking his own life after a lengthy standoff with police. Jeffrey Scott West, 68, of Friendsville, Tennessee. This is Tennessee, y'all. Died from a self inflicted gunshot wound after he fired a gun at Kyle W. Spitzy, 24, hitting him once in the ear following an argument between the two. Wow. Say, wow, 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 right? So we get that one. Okay. So now let me go to share this one. I think this one is with see, the groomer were getting these kids to get their parents' back details as well, and it was going missing from their bank accounts. The groomers were blackmailing the kids. Sick and sadistic, isn't it, Jackie? It's sick and twisted. Let me get this back over here. Let me get back off that. Now we're going to go to the governmental page. This is the justice.gov in Maryland. Violent Extremist Network 764, member facing federal indictment for sexual exploitation, coercion, and enticement of minors, cyber stalking. I want to reiterate that I am not a professional. I'm just here to get the word out, to try to bring awareness from one survivor. Baltimore, Maryland. Today, a federal grand jury, let me see again when that date was. So that was November the 20th, 2025. That was not long ago, okay? A federal grand jury returned an indictment charging Eric Lee Madison, age 20, of Hellthorpe, Maryland, with 3 counts of sexual exploitation of a child, 3 counts of coercion and enticement of a child, and 1 count of cyber stalking. Law enforcement arrested Madison pursuant to a criminal complaint on November the 6th, 2025. Kelly O. Hayes, U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland, announced the indictment with Special Agent in charge Jimmy Paul, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Baltimore Field Office Chief Amal E. Awad, and Arundel County Police Department, and Chief Robert McCullough, Baltimore County Police Department. According to the indictment and the affidavit filed in support of the previous criminal complaint, Madison was a member and associate of 764, a criminal organization of nihilistic, violent extremists. Members of 764 use known online social media communications platforms as mediums to support the possession, production, and sharing of extreme gore media and child sex abuse material with vulnerable juvenile populations. These individuals often conduct coordinated extortions of teenagers, blackmailing the victims to comply with the group's demands. The indictment alleges that between November 2024 and September 2025, Madison persuaded, induced, enticed, and coerced 3 minor females to engage in sexually explicit conduct. Madison illegally interacted the minors to produce and transmit a visual depiction of the sexually explicit conduct and to engage in prohibited sexual conduct. Additionally, the indictment alleges Madison committed cyber stalking against one of the minor victims. If convicted, Madison faces the mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years. Wow, a minimum of 15 years? And a maximum sentence of 30 years in federal prison for each of the 3 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor. He also faces a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years and a maximum of life imprisonment for each of the 3 counts of coercion and enticement of a child, and a maximum of 10 years in federal prison for cyber stalking. We're going to be angry at you if you drop any of the charges for a deal. You better not drop any of these charges. You need to have him locked under the jail. Actual sentences for federal crimes are typically less than the maximum penalties. A federal district court judge determines sentencing after considering the U.S. sentencing guidelines and other statutory factors. U.S. Magistrate Judge Aaron Aslan previously ordered Madison to be detained pending trial. An indictment is not a finding of guilt. An individual charged by indictment is presumed innocent until proven guilty at a later criminal proceeding. This case is part of the Project Safe Childhood, a nationwide initiative launched in May 2006 by the Department of Justice to combat the growing epidemic of child sexual exploitation and abuse. Led by the United States Attorney's Offices and the Criminal Division's Child Exploitation and Obscenity Section, Project Safe Childhood marshals federal, state, and local resources to locate, apprehend, and prosecute individuals who sexually exploit children and to identify and rescue victims. For more information about Project Safe Childhood, please visit justice.gov backslash PSC. For more information about Internet safety education, please visit justice.gov backslash PSC and click on Resources tab on the left of the page. Which we could do that the next time I do that if y'all choose. If y'all would like me to do that, go to talk about the going more about Project Safe uh, Childhood, and also Internet Safety Education. Please drop a one in the box. The Justice Department remains vigilant against the threat of nihilistic, violent extremists in the networks like 764 that operate within the United States and around the globe. NBEs often target vulnerable individuals, including minors, using social media platforms to share child sexual abuse material and gore material, angering victims toward committing acts of violence. Victims are often extorted, coerced, compelled, and blackmailed into compliance with NBE demands, including self mutilation, online and in person sexual acts, harm to animals, sexual exploitation of siblings, and others. Yeah, I had heard one where one was told to go in there and mess with her younger brother and others, acts of violence, threats of violence, suicide, and murder. For more information on how to protect children and others, read about the online risk here parents, caregivers, teachers, FBI, and the FBI's March 2025 public service announcement. U.S. Attorney Hayes commended the FBI, AACOPD, and the BCPD for their work in the investigation. And it said, for more information about Maryland U.S. Attorney's Office, its priorities, and resources available to help the community, visit justice.gov backslash USA 0, which is O, small o, hyphen MD. And then there's going to be community outreach after that. To contact someone there, here is Kevin Nash, usamd.press at usdoj.gov. The phone number is 410-209-4946. Again, the number to contact Kevin Nash is 410-209-4946. This was updated November the 20th. We'll get that one. Okay, I'll make sure to do that. All right, the next one. Share screen. Oh, change my thing again to the bigger. Let's minimize that again. Look what they did to this guy right here. For final piece of 2024, we located a 764 member in Europe who encouraged a 25-year-old Samuel Hervey to stream their suicide on a Discord video group chat. He was suicidal and needed help. A 15-year-old girl pushed him to kill himself. Boy, not good, is it, people? Not good at all. Okay, here's children of 764. We'll get credit Credit where credit is due. This is from safeonsocial.com. Give you the credit. Thank you so much. It started with a boy in a bedroom, alone, online, and invisible to the adults around him. He liked Minecraft. He watched gore. Somewhere between pixels and unseen pain, a transformation occurred. His name was Bradley Cadenhead. He was a teenager living in Texas, and he became the architect of a Discord server called 764. In 2024, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's cyber tip line received over 1,300 reports linked to 764 and similar networks. That's a 200% increase in just 1 year. These aren't members, they're warnings, not abstract risk, but coordinates of human lives breaking in real time. The children, the teenagers, the women drawn into this gravity well of psychological terror don't make headlines, but they should. 764 was more than a server, it's a digital dungeon, a theater of cruelty, a place where abuse wasn't hidden but celebrated. The name itself was a nod to the zip code where Cadenhead lived. Local violence turned global. It began with shared images, then escalated. Members of the group would lure vulnerable girls and sometimes boys into video chats. Then they would extort them. Cut yourself, undress, show us pain, perform or else. In one case, they told a girl to stab herself while on live stream. Another was pushed to provide names, personal information, even intel on her school. What followed was not just digital exploitation, it was a real world terror. Bomb threats, warnings of school shootings, towns evacuated, teachers under siege, all triggered by a group that operated from bedrooms and basements, wielding nothing but screens, VPNs, and a complete lack of empathy. Discord, the platform where 764 was born, eventually flagged and reported the group in 2021. Cadenhead was arrested and sentenced to 80 years in prison in 2023. But the network didn't die. It scattered. Splinter groups with names like 764 Inferno emerged, each one more sadistic than the last. They were not just sharing illegal content, they were coordinating abuse, active, live, and escalating. In April 2024, two of the group's new leaders were arrested. Leonidas Bergenius, I don't know how to pronounce that, a 21-year-old U.S. citizen living in Greece, and Prayson Nepal, a 20-year-old in North Carolina. According to the Department of Justice, they ordered minors to harm themselves on camera. This wasn't a few rogue individuals. This was a network with intent. Psychological warfare carried out in real time against children. And still, most adults know nothing about it. We want to believe child predators live in shadows, that their depravity reveals itself in how they look or act in public. And we'll recognize that it became near our families, but the reality is more banal and more horrifying. The boys of 764 wore hoodies, not handcuffs. They played video games. They used the same platforms our kids use: Discord, TikTok, Twitch. They looked ordinary because they were. So when your kid's in there talking to another kid, a lot of times parents are like, oh, that's a kid, that's not an adult. We have nothing to worry about. You might be wrong, worse than you even realize, okay? What makes this worse and far more complex is how victimhood can twist. In Vernon, Connecticut, a local honor roll student was manipulated into becoming an accomplice. She befriended one of the 764 members online. He convinced her to share explicit photos, then coerced her into handing over information about a teacher. That data was used to send threats to bombings and mass shootings. The digital and physical worlds collided. Fear pulsed through schools and neighborhoods. Police initially believed she was behind the threats, and in a way she was. But they also saw her as a victim because she was. This is psychological terrain we are now forced to navigate, where young people are both targets and weapons, victims and enablers, abused and recruited, and it's not just in America. We saw it in Greece too, didn't we, y'all? I have multiple reports of young teenagers in Australia displaying all the same patterns that parents have reported to the police. Girls mostly, secretive chats with strangers online, sudden disappearances, running away, self harm, refusing to believe it's not love, every textbook sign of coercive control except the controllers behind a keyboard. There's no boyfriend, just an IP address, and behind it, someone who knows exactly how to make a teenager feel seen, wanted, dependent, then destroy them piece by piece. But I can bet you there's a lot of boys on here too. But a lot of times, if you ever notice when a boy is victimized, a lot of times he keeps it within. He don't go and tell. What these kids are going through is not melodrama. It's not a phase. It is abuse, scaled by algorithms, automated through platforms, and reinforced by silence. And if you're a parent, an educator, or just an adult paying attention, here's what you need to understand: the threat isn't coming, it's here. And we are dangerously underprepared. Here's what you can do. I had read this at the beginning, but now y'all can see where I got it from. One, don't dismiss strange behavior, sudden secrecy, withdrawn behavior, excessive device use, erratic sleep, or unexplained injuries. These are not just growing pains. Don't look away. Ask. Keep asking with compassion and interrogation. Don't tell them it isn't love. Not yet. Not until you've listened. If you challenge the reality a teenager is clinging to, you don't dismantle it. You drive them deeper into it. Ask questions, let them speak, and slowly, carefully introduce the idea of what real care looks like and how coercion wears its mask. Number three, document everything. If a child confides in you, take notes. Screenshot messages. Save usernames. Record timelines. Do not assume the platform will preserve evidence. They won't. Preserve the proof. Then report it to both. Here's the websites right here, which y'all can see. It's highlighted right here. Number four, get off the moral high horse. You're not here to shame them for what they sent. You are here to keep them alive. Many victims say they stayed because they were more afraid of parental anger than of the abuser's threats. Fix that. Five, learn the apps. Don't rely on headlines. Create your own Discord account. Watch TikTok lives. Ask your kids to show you how Snap maps work. If you don't know the terrain, you can't help them navigate it. Six, don't go it alone. Reach out to experts. You don't have to be a digital native to take action. Just be a present adult. So, researchers have already warned us in 2022. A peer reviewed study in JAMA Pediatrics found that exposure to violent or sexually exploitative content online is associated with increased risk of both victimization and perpetration in adolescence. The study emphasized that platforms are not neutral environments. They are designed for engagement, and nothing engages faster than fear and sex. TikTok knew, Discord knew. These companies sit on data that would make most of us weep, but their responsibility is diluted by shareholder interest. The safety of our children is not in their terms of service, it is in ours. The future would judge us not by how we innovated, but by what we tolerated. But right now, we are tolerating too much. Stop talking. Start talking. So let's get past that. I got one more to show you a little bit more information that's also at Wikipedia. Hey there, Carlene. Good to see you. It is very dark and it's very organized. You are right. It's sickening, ain't it? It's sick and twisted. I gotta make this bigger again because it's messed up. I'm sorry. Back that way. Okay, get back to the small. I hate it when it keeps changing my screen size. Hi, Carlene. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. The screen share. Let's get to now Wikipedia. I try to get as much information out as I can, okay? So we all know that the history was founded in 2021, but someone said 2020, right? By Bradley. Now you see his middle name right there. It's Chance Cadenhead. So 764 is classified as a terror network by the U.S. Department of Justice. It is considered a terrorist Tier 1 investigative matter by the FBI. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police similarly classifies 764 as an ideological violent extremist network. They got it right here where it's 2021. They're split from CBLT worldwide. It said it's actually CBLT was founded in France. So basically, this guy got this stuff from the CBLT. Ideology, accelerationism, nihilistic, violent extremists. So let me go further down. Okay. So it said it was founded in 2021 by Bradley Chance Cadenhead at the age of 15. School dropout. Cadenhead, alias Felix, learned techniques of exploiting minors and sextortion on a Discord server of CBLT and subsequently founded 764. In the online game Minecraft, Cadenhead met an unknown person who assisted him in establishing 764. The 764 network is primarily active on Discord and Telegram, and to some extent on the gaming platforms Roblox and Minecraft. It is also publicly active on online forums. Its members are involved in systematic sexual, physical, and psychological abuse of minors through sextortion and other practices, and in distributed child pornography and depictions of violence. Victims are selected from the 9 to 17-year age group with a preference to children from marginalized backgrounds or with mental health issues. Cadenhead was bullied during the school years. We read that kind of thing earlier, so we're going to skip over that part. It said, let's see, his assistant principal alerted authorities about Cadenhead, leading to an investigation into terror threats. Despite disciplinary measures, Cadenhead continued to use school computers to draw images of school shootings. Wow. Pretty sick, twisted person, huh? Cadenhead extorted minors through extortion or coerced them by threatening actions such as swatting attacks. He forces victims, among other things, to produce child pornography, engage in animal cruelty, and to engage in self harm. Cadenhead's Discord accounts were typically banned within about a day, but he repeatedly created new ones. A Discord Inc. spokesperson told the Washington Post that the company's moderation system primarily relied on user reports. When Discord learned of their illegal activities, it banned Cadenhead's accounts. Out of concern about retaliatory actions by 764 members, the spokesperson requested anonymity. After a house search on August 25, 2021, Cadenhead was arrested, and on May 16, 2023, he was convicted of possessing child pornographic files. He was sentenced to 80 years in prison and is currently in prison in an Estelle unit in Huntsville, Texas. Cadenhead's behavioral therapist said during the trial that Cadenhead needed psychological treatment rather than imprisonment. Do what? So you didn't want him to be in prison? You just wanted him to be have treatment? Excuse me, that kind of violent? Maybe you need to be in prison yourself. After reviewing video evidence from Cadenhead's computer and listing the 7 deadly sins, the presiding judge, Jason Kashan, addressed Cadenhead directly, saying, "There's something horribly wrong with you." I agree with you there. On April 29, 2025, the U.S. Department of Justice reported the arrest of two key members of a 764 subgroup. The 20-year-old Prazanapal, alias Trippy, was arrested on April 22, 2025 in North Carolina, and the 21-year-old Leonidas Varagianis, alias War, was apprehended on April 28 in Greece. An international arrest warrant was issued against him, and his extradition to the U.S. has been requested, which he has attempted to resist, arguing that Greek authorities should have jurisdiction due to his residence in Greece. But if you hurt an American citizen, if you're, doing that, so, excuse me, you need to come here and pay for the crime. According to the Justice Department, the two suspects were accused of not only leading a 764 subgroup on an encrypted messenger, but also being centrally involved in the production and distribution of child pornography. According to FBI Director Kash Patel, they recruited group members and created a guide for producing such material. If convicted in the U.S., he and Nepal face life imprisonment, according to the U.S. Department of Defense. According to the Global Network on Extremism and Technology, the 764 network was officially considered dissolved upon the arrest of Cadenhead and other key figures, but the network has fragmented into subgroups such as 676, CBLT, Court, Casher, Harm Nation, Lick Society, and Hell, because if you see the three backwards, that's what that basically spells, Hell. GNet notes a uh, continuity of personnel and assumes that the 764 network persists in these splinter groups. Wow. Due to the network's decentralized nature, numerous subgroups exist, including No Lives Matter. Have y'all heard of that? No Lives Matter? When aggregated, the people surrounding these groups are commonly called the COM, short for the community. Law enforcement estimated in 2024 the COM includes hundreds of people who engage in extortion and harassment using various cybercriminal tactics such as swatting and doxing, as well as thousands engaged in other cyber criminal activities. So if y'all see somebody that's got it up there on their picture at Facebook or at a site, No Lives Matter, please report it, or 764 or 766 or anything like this. So please go in there and report this if y'all see it. The term "quam" is not exclusive to groups involved in child sexual exploitation and is often used as a generalized term for the cybercrime community. Also, instead of just worrying about just doing that, make sure that all your family's accounts and friends' accounts and everybody blocks the said person, okay? For their own safety, for their children and all involved. Because in case Facebook does not block them or these other places don't block them, you'll be able to block them, okay? A 23-year-old Indian national, Rohan Sandeep Rain, founded the CBLT Discord server to discuss fascism and Nazism while studying in France. He aimed to create a space where hatred of Jews and Muslims could be expressed. About 150 people, whom investigators have not yet been identified, joined the forum. Rain has been called a brilliant economic student, according to Europol. The CBLT network's core principles are nihilism, pedophilia, and neo-Nazism. In the 2025 report, The Changing DNA of Serious and Organized Crime, which examines the influence of the Internet and artificial intelligence on organized crime, Europol called CBLT a violent extremist child abuse ring. CBLT was identified as part of a larger network of violent extremists involved in child abuse. ICE reported that CBLT's victims were coerced into degrading acts such as drinking their urine, eating their hair, ban signing, and self harm. Additionally, victims were forced through sextortion to produce child pornography. Later, the 764 network adopted these methods and expanded sextortion to include additional forms of abuse, such as coercion into animal cruelty. Order of Nine Angels. There's another one, okay? The Order of Nine, oh, Angles, sorry, not angels, angles, was founded in 1970 by a person using the pseudonym Anton Long. The movement is considered a secretive organization within a fluid, new religious movement combining elements of occultism, Satanism, and mysticism. While the movement saw little activity in the 90s and 2000s, it developed a significant online presence starting in 2008. Although there appears to be a connection to Nazism and right wing extremism, O9A instead promotes a morality and teaches aimed at transcending moral and societal norms. No Lives Matter. The ideology of No Lives Matter can be described as nihilistic, accelerationist, and terrorist. NLM promotes murder, mass murder, and other criminal acts, encouraging members to engage in self harm and animal abuse. The group's goal is to abolish all societal standards. In April 2024, NLM distanced itself from the 764 network, saying that it advocates an ideology that 764 should follow. The previous alliance was disrupted due to 764's connections to Satanism and pedophilia. Since breaking for 764, NLM has sharpened its ideological focus and now presents itself as a misanthropic network that continues to endorse murder. Crazy. Sextortion, the network is most present on Discord and Telegram. Its members try to obtain compromising data from the victims, often in the form of nude images. They use various methods such as hacking, sextortion, and blackmail to acquire this data, which is then used for extortion. Some victims are coerced into self harm, including cases where children were forced to carve their tormentors' online nickname into their skin, which is called cut signing or fan signing, a form of branding to show their subjugation. investigation by the group. Other children were manipulated into flushing their heads in toilets, torturing and killing their pets, attacking their siblings, killing themselves, or carrying out mass shootings. Several cases of attempted or completed suicides among victims are documented, some deliberately induced by the perpetrators. The German Federal Criminal Police Office has warned about these perpetrators' methods. A Canadian victim of 764 described feeling loved by the perpetrators and said, I was a lost soul and found serenity and comfort in the familiarity of the abuse. The perpetrators' motives are cited as sadism and misanthropy. Though extorted child pornography has been sold on the dark net, the FBI identified minors aged 8 to 17 as a target group. Additionally, members of the LGBTQ community, ethnic minorities, and people with mental health issues, particularly depression and suicidality, are focal points for the perpetrators. That's like warnings from police. The FBI classified the 764 network as a Tier 1 threat, the highest danger category, assessing it as a threat to national and economic security. In September 2023, the FBI published their first bulletin warning the public of the network. Law enforcement authorities and affected parties have repeatedly stated that platform operators are responsible for taking more decisive action against dangers to underage users. While Roblox has already restricted certain content and features for users under 17 since 2023, the company implemented additional safety measures in November, including automated chat monitoring and restrictions on the use of the chat function for underage users. In July 2025, age verification via facial scanning was introduced. In July 2024, RCMP Newfoundland and Labrador published a news release warning parents of various groups after an anonymous tip of a child being targeted online was linked to the network. Another news release reminding the public of the groups was published by RCMP a month later. In August 2024, U.S. Senator Mark Warner, as a Democrat in Virginia, pressed discord regarding their failure to safeguard minors and stop the proliferation of violent predatory groups. In response to the FBI bulletin regarding 764, in May 2025, FBI Director Kash Patel called the group deeply disturbing and added that it was critically important to understand what's out there and be aware of the threats American kids and families are facing every day. According to media reports from May 2025, approximately 250 investigations related to the 764 network were being conducted in the USA, spanning all 55 FBI field offices. In the USA, terrorism laws are sometimes applied to members of the 764 network. These laws are also used against perpetrators operating from abroad who commit crimes with impacts in the USA. In such cases, extradition requests are made. So that person in Greece, that's why they're trying to bring you over here, because that's exactly what you did. According to Der Spiegel, 764 related arrests have been made for child pornography, kidnapping, and murder in at least 8 countries, including 2 men in Germany. The FBI estimates that thousands of children have fallen prey to 764 and similar groups. The Australian Federal Police claimed that they were intensifying efforts to disrupt networks linked to 764. Now, in 2021, in February 2021, a 22-year-old member of CBLT, Caleb Christopher Merritt of Spring, Texas, kidnapped and raped a 12-year-old girl in Virginia. He was convicted and sentenced to 350 years in prison. Cadenhead Splinter Group also leveraged animal torture, incest, rape, self-harm, and bestiality for their victims. Oh my gosh, so they were making them have sex with their animals too. Cadenhead did. In November 2021, 22-year-old Angel Almeida of Queens, New York, United States, was arrested for his involvement in the network and possession of a firearm while being a felon. Found inside Almeida's house was a bloodied piece of paper with a sketch of the Zodiac Killer alongside runic symbols and other memorabilia of the Order of the Nine Angles. Almeida's arrest tipped off law enforcement on the 764 network. In November 2021, an American man who was stranded in Kur, y'all can end up saying this kind of word. I don't really know how to pronounce this word right here. Kyrgyzstan died by self-immolation for an audience on Discord. He had been encouraged to broadcast his suicide by a 15-year-old Eastern European girl he met online who herself had linked to 764, which we showed y'all his picture a little bit ago. In 2023, a 17-year-old member, Nino Luciano H., known as Tobes, live streamed herself attacking an 82-year-old man in March of 2022. And 2 weeks later, he live streamed his fatal stabbing of a 74-year-old woman whom he believed to be Roma on a 764 affiliated Discord server. This was allegedly so he could prove himself as a member of the maniac murderer cult. He was sentenced to 14 years in prison in August 2023. Wow. In March 2023, 17-year-old founder Bradley Chance Cadenhead pled guilty to 9 counts of possession of child pornography. An Enrath County judge sentenced Cadenhead to an 80-year state prison sentence, citing his self-described status as a cult leader. In March 2025, 23-year-old Rohan R., the founder of the CBLT group that inspired Cadenhead, was charged with torture and sextortion by the Parish Departmental Criminal Court. He pled guilty to the charges, and the case was referred to the Parish Court of Assizes for a jury trial. Wow. Did y'all see that he actually just got 9 counts of possession of child pornography? Where's his other counts going, right, y'all? I think he needs a death penalty myself. After Cadenhead's arrest in August 2021, the group was led by 21-year-old Tim Sir. I can't even try to say that name, okay? And he's from Romania, named Francesco, nicknamed Riley. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison in August 2023 for production of child pornography with the Romanian DIICOT. You see that right there? That is Directorate for Investigating Organized Crime and Terrorism. It's a law enforcement agency of the Romanian government tasked with investigating and prosecuting organized crime, drug trafficking, cybercrime, financial crimes, and terrorism-related offenses. So, it was formed in 2004 under law. So it was cited the fact that he subscribed to antisocial values from the maniac murder cult. In December 2023, an 18-year-old man from Honolulu, Hawaii, was arrested for running a 764 splinter group. In 2024, in January, the Brazilian Federal Police arrested 2 teenage leaders of a suspected splinter group in Anandia Para. It's in northern Brazil. Tabatinga, Amazonas, Brazil. The operation, led by the federal police codenamed Discordia, carried out 7 search warrants in the 5 Brazilian states. In January 2024, 47-year-old member Richard Anthony Rena Densmore of Caleva, Michigan, was indicted on federal child pornography charges. Densmore, who was known as Rabid and ran a splinter group named Sewer. What a what a good name. Because you're really from the sewer, aren't you? Was later sentenced to 30 years in prison after pleading guilty. Following Densmore's sentencing, Matthew G. Olson of the Justice Department's National Security Division said that the group sought to do unspeakable harm to children to advance their goals of destroying civilized society, permitting civil arrest, and ultimately collapsing governmental institutions. He also classified the network as transnational threat. So really, when you go like this and try to disrupt the government, basically, I think all these need to be, it's treason. In February 2024, a 14-year-old Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, who was linked to the network, was arrested on charges of distributing child pornography, non-consensual distribution of intimate images, and possession of explosives. Wow. In March 2024, Kyle William Spitz, a 24-year-old from Princeville, Tennessee, who is known as Criminal on the network, was indicted on federal child pornography charges. Spitz garnered notoriety in 2023 for a video of his stepfather shooting him in the ear during an altercation. In December 2024, he pleaded guilty to 4 of the 8 crimes he was charged for. He faces 30 years in prison and lifetime supervised. Wow. So in March of 2024, Cameron Finnegan, a 19-year-old from Horsham, UK, known as Acid, was arrested, and in January 2025 pled guilty to encouraging suicide, possessing a terrorism manual, and possessing indecent images of a child. Finnegan was subsequently sentenced to 6 years in jail. At the time of sentencing, the BBC reported that at least 4 British teenagers had been arrested in connection with activities of the group, which is blackmail children into carrying out sexual acts, harming themselves, or even attempting suicide. Oh, that was just 6 years in jail? Seriously? In October 2024, a 14-year-old boy known as Slane was a member of 764 and ran an offshoot named No Lives Matter, was arrested after live streaming 8 attacks and 3 stabbings in Hasselby, Sweden. In October 2024, New South Wales police announced the arrest of a 28-year-old man and a 14-year-old boy known in Western Australia in connection with the network, which you could tell maybe they were kin or I'm not sure. In December 2024, a 20-year-old alleged 764 member from Tucson, Arizona, United States, was arrested. So now we're going to get down here to 2025. The Antioch shooter, Solomon Henderson, made references to 764 and similar groups in social media posts before the attack. Okay, so CBLT members are facing maximum sentences of life in prison for the sexual abuse of at least 16 minors that allegedly groomed and coerced the minors to produce child sex abuse material and images of self-harm, as announced by the Department of Justice on January 30th, 2025. On February 11th, 2025, Jero Jamie Tinajero, a member of the wider 764 network, pled guilty to various counts, among them racketeering, conspiracy, possession of child sex abuse material, and conspiracy to murder. Tinajero was a member of the splinter group 8884 and had groomed several minors to obtain child sex abuse material from them. He also conspired with others to kill one of the minors. Phew. On February 12th, 2025, The Italian police in Bolzano arrested a teen and charged him with participating in a terrorist organization, manufacture and use of explosive devices, possession of illegal firearms, criminal damage possession, and dissemination of child pornography. He allegedly planned to make a snuff film. It was allegedly affiliated with 764 and the Order of the Nine Ankles. 764 member Alden Harding was charged in February 2025 with possession of child pornography. Harding had also allegedly plotted a mass casualty event and possessed 20 guns. It's not the guns that kill, it's the people that kill. They had the guns. They got a choice. 23-year-old Hugo Figueroa was arrested in late February 2025 in Spain for threatening a mass shooting and bombing in Valencia, leading to the mass evacuation of institutions across Valencia. He was arrested by the civil guard, who also confiscated his electronics. Figueroa was a member of the Order of Nine Angles and 764 and used several aliases, including Neo Hitler 666. Oh my goodness. On March 14, 2025, 764 member Jack Rocker of Tampa, Florida, was sentenced to 7 years in prison for possession of child pornography in the form of 8,300 videos and images as ordered to pay restitution to his victims. Did you 7 years? And look how many child porns, 8,300 videos and images? And all I got was 7 years? Are you freaking kidding me? Where is the justice? Come on, where's the justice? Tell me. In April 2025, a 28-year-old California man was arrested on charges of attempting to possess and possession of child pornography. He made an appearance in federal court on April the 3rd, 2025, and was remanded without bail. According to court documents, he allegedly caused minors to produce child sex abuse material and content depicting themselves engaging in self harm as part of his participation in the 764 network. Additionally, he was allegedly involved with an online group in the network which blackmailed minors into producing child pornography and engaging in degrading sadistic sexual acts and torture sessions. Minors were also forced to carve their abusers' names on their bodies and were encouraged to commit suicide. On April the 29th, 2025, two members of 764, that was Nepal and that Leonidas known as War, were charged with operating a child exploitation enterprise in connection to 764, named as leaders of 764. They're accused of running a subgroup that was involved in producing child sex abuse material, as well as the grooming, manipulation, and extortion of minors. Nepal was arrested on April 22nd in North Carolina. Well, the other guy, I'm just going to call him the other guy, uh, Trippy, we call him Trippy, was arrested on April 28th. No, Trippy is Nepal, and Leonidas, it's easier to say than the Barra Genius, was arrested on April 28th in Greece after an intentional notice was issued by American authorities. Extradition proceedings for him are currently ongoing, and convicted the leaders could face life sentences in prison. Come on now, don't just give life sentences. We don't need to have to pay for their food the rest of their life and their medical and everything else the rest of their life. Look at this long list of people. We're going against the government. It's going against our people. Come on, it's going against our children. In the UK, CBLT member Richard Ehemir was convicted of fraud and possession of child sexual abuse material. He possessed stolen personal information of hundreds of people, which was used for extortion. He was sentenced on May the 1st, 2025 to 12 months in prison, suspended for 18 months, and was given a 10-year sexual harm prevention order. Seriously? That's a laugh, a 10-year sexual harm prevention order. Wow. It's such a laugh. You're just going to do it behind people's backs. On May the 4th, 2025, the Brazilian police arrested a 764 aligned group that planned to attack a Lady Gaga concert in Rio de Janeiro using explosive and Molotov cocktails. The group's leader was in possession of illegal firearms and child sex abuse material. Another member was additionally charged for live streaming selling a homeless man on fire. He set him on fire, a homeless man. Authorities also arrested and charged a third person with terrorism, who they accuse of planning to perform a satanic human sacrifice of a child or baby during the concert. Y'all see that? Let me reread that again. Authorities also arrested and charged a third person with terrorism, who they accuse of planning to perform a satanic human sacrifice of a child or baby during that concert. On May the 19th, 2025, a 14-year-old with ties to 764 and No Lives Matter was convicted in Swedish court for stabbing a 55-year-old woman in Boris. As he was a minor, he faced no punishment, was ordered to pay 160,000 kroner in damages to the woman. On May the 22nd, 2025, a 14-year-old boy who had ties to 764 was arrested by the FBI for plotting to attack mall goers at a mall in Kelso, Washington. On June 18, 2025, based on an FBI notice and evidence secured in September 2023 house search, German authorities announced the arrest of a 20-year-old German-Iranian man in Hamburg, who is described as a leading figure in 764, who acted under the online name White Tiger. He is accused of over 120 offenses, including murder and multiple cases of attempted murder. Okay, so that's not the same person I knew. I knew somebody years ago, White Tiger, and he's probably deceased by now. In July 2025, the Finnish police announced they are investigating a Finnish teen who was in contact with 764 and allegedly convinced a man to commit suicide. In addition, the police are examining whether two suicides committed by teen girls in Kasari that month are linked. On July the 27th, 2025, 20-year-old Logan Anthony Sells was arrested for stabbing a woman 20 times in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. Sells was a member of 764 under the alias Corrupt and told the police that he had had the urge to kill since he was a child. On August 27, 2025, a 27-year-old man was arrested and charged with possession of child pornography dating back to 2022. Police said the man was a member of 764. Okay. In November 2025, the Finnish National Bureau of Investigation announced they have arrested multiple people affiliated with nihilistic violence extremism networks of the COM 764, No Lives Matter, and MKU. They are believed to have victimized dozens of children. On November 27, 2025, the University of Las Palmas de Gran Canaria received a bomb threat with a manifesto claiming to be part of the group 765. And in December 2025, 5 men were arrested and faced 17 counts of child porn and child exploitation charges. One of the charged men was an active serviceman in the U.S. Navy and charged with crimes committed while stationed in a UAS base. The men were part of an extortion group which authorities claimed helped start 764, with participants becoming prominent members of 764. So there's these others. So see also these other things. There's also Office of Public Affairs. That's the charge will operate global section. Uh, there's a network member, Richard Dinsmore. So when you go to here, you'll be able to see the different news stories. See, there's satanic and neo-Nazi online cults targeting Aussie kids. Terror without ideology, the rise of nihilistic violence, and ISD investigation. It goes on and on here. The more the story, please protect your kids. Yeah, when you think it can't get worse, you're right there. Does anybody got any statements they'd like to talk about? Uh, I do my best to try to get back with y'all and get this all lined up on online safety, basically. Hey there, Chris. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. And I thank y'all for coming in, and I hope this has brought light to this group, 764, and hope that y'all will pay attention to this and pass this out. Because as you see, it's got other groups as well, like No Lives Matter. And I remember somewhere where I posted, and I said, All Lives Matter, and then somebody posted behind it, No Lives Matter. Thank you so much, Jackie. I appreciate you. Lots of love. I probably had some bad reviews on this. Some people have wrote on my lives and said, "Well, you're not an expert." I said, "I know I'm not an expert. I never professed to be, right?" Thanks everyone for coming in. It's so good to see Jackie. You hadn't been here in a while. I really appreciate you coming in. Lots of love. Thank you, our bucket list. Thank you for Reap the Whirlwind, Carlene Gonzalez. Thank you so much. Everyone that are in here right now, I really appreciate and love each of y'all. Um, one day also we're going to have a little talk if somebody wants to come in here and talk about what might be on their mind, some things that you would like to discuss. I think that would be game too. And thanks for coming in. Also, Chris, you're really greatly appreciated. God bless each and every one of y'all. And keep your heads held up. Much love and prayers for everyone. And may God bless us all. Amen to that, sis. Amen. Well, thank y'all and God bless. And please share this out. And please look for them apps that I was describing that actually you can put on your child's app phone. And the child might not even know that you are honing in. So if they have a self harm where they cut themselves or if they got a bruise on their self, that picture when they go to take it is going to go to your phone, and you will be notified of your child being injured. And you can have it marked also where, like I said, if somebody's writing them about sexual things, that's also going to go to your phone as well. So that's another way of keeping our kids safe, and that's not violating your kid. That's protecting your kid. Okay, that's protecting your kid because you don't want your kid to be a victim, to be victimized by these people, by any person. Okay, you are there to protect your children at all costs. I say thank you so much, and God bless each and every one of us. Have a great day.